Did you have any, I mean, I think I know the answer. Did you have any reluctance in doing something that was more performative, or having things that were more like, you know, fancy sets or lights or anything like that? I mean, did you feel like, no, I'm just supposed to be out here with my guitar? Did you have that debate inside?
I feel like I certainly had moments before, because we spent a long time in production rehearsals to mount it, which is very counter to your, you know,
idea of what visceral
idea
real
of
rock and roll
what
is.
visceral means. And it's also not very sexy to be like, well, yeah, I rehearsed that show for 4 weeks, so I hope you fucking like it. You better like it. So, you know, I know it's not sexy and mythological to admit to a lot of hard work and sort of banal execution of vision, but there was a lot of like trepidation on my part in terms of like, will this work? Will this translate? Does this communicate what I want it to communicate? But then also having a sense of like, I'm just following my micro instincts at every point and making little decisions that will end up being a whole. I've picked people who I think are really great collaborators: Andy Parsons, Suzanne Sasek, my lighting engineer, and kind of going cross your fingers. I think if you think something's gonna just be a shoe-in and a hit, you're doomed. Like I don't think that that's the way to approach anything. There should be an element of like, I'm going out on a limb here and I don't know if it's going to work. And I remember our friend Alan, who you've known forever, and he's my best friend, he saw the production rehearsals and he was like, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Did you get scared when he said that?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. He said it was crazy, but affectionately. Like, okay, well.
Aussie crazy.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe in an interview with The Guardian recently, you were talking about, you know, sort of maybe having a fear at times of it looking like too intellectual, or some aspect of it seeming too intellectual. Am I remembering that?
I think that's always the sort of dichotomy that you're trying to bridge all the time. It's like what's the balance between visceral and cerebral?
It's funny, there's even a David Bowie quote in that. Has everyone here seen the footage of Bowie on Dick Cavett? Thank you, hands. Everyone go home and Google it up. It's really, really excellent for a million reasons. But in it, you know, Dick Cavett's asking him like, oh, you know, what is this about? Da, 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 da. And he kind of has these theories, and Bowie's insisting over and over, there's absolutely nothing intellectual to my music, which you wouldn't think. Even you know, when he's doing Young Americans, and he has this whole suit, and you know, here's Luther Vandross, who was at the time, you know, singing back up from him. You know, just this like huge production. And you're like, no, you've totally thought about this. This is intellectual, you know. But I think, you know, it also very much speaks, you know, as R&B, it's speaking to our thoughts. David Bowie. So. We were just talking about communicating, various ways that you use to communicate. How important is what you wear on stage in terms of what you're trying to communicate to your audience?
Well, for this recent tour, I guess I was going for a little bit of a Daryl Hannah Blade Runner head with a masculine 40s shoulder.
What were you trying to tell us? Or were we just intuitive?
I was just trying to be an 80s power bitch. Business bitch.
That's a tight look. I think that's tight look. I mean, is that how you were trying to present, like a certain kind of power to go with your your songs of power, your riffs of power, your feminist expression of power, unique?
Well, I think we should probably take the next 7 hours to unpack what it means to be powerful and what power looks like on different people.
You guys got it late?
You're not busy, right? You don't have dinner plans?
Let's take it there.
Let's go there. What does power look like? How do different people wield power? What does power look like on you? That's a question all of us must ask ourselves.
Is that what do you feel like that's necessary to project that? To remind people that you were the boss bitch on charge when you're on stage?
I mean, no, my MO is like sexy baby.
You're missing the mark on that one. Sorry. What Bowie costume in this exhibit do you wish you had? And would you perform in it?
I would say, unequivocally, the Yamamoto.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about? No, it's so incredible. Also, this is a brief aside, but I was thinking about it because I recently went to go see an exhibit of Japanese designers in Dallas. Rei, the woman behind Comme des Garçons, and Yoji Yamamoto, and one else who was also great. And but I find that the Japanese silhouettes are very almost androgynous by nature, and I don't know if that speaks to because Japan was so isolationist for a long time that there wasn't a whole lot of biological evolutionary intermingling. So for a long time, a Japanese form was relatively. This isn't racist, is it? It's not. I'm just saying, like, they were, look it up, they're isolationist. And so, Japanese form is quite slight and small.
And Bowie had a 24-inch waist for the entire duration of his career.
24 inches.
That's like, that's a teenage girl, like a really small teenage girl waist, or a boy.
I feel like
we don't
like
have
a
to isolate.
prepubescent waist.
Yeah, that's a high school waist, and only a high school waist.
Yeah.
Maybe if you're already a pre-existing tiny person.
With a pre-existent tiny condition. Yeah, no. So the in terms of Japanese fashion, there tends to be a sense of boxiness and proportion that they can kind of flip on their head because they're not dealing with a body that's TNA, you know, that's tits and ass for anything.
It's a scientific term.
The lingo, but and so I think it worked. I think that Bowie's collaborations with Japanese designers worked really well because he was right in that intersection of, you know, effeminate and masculine and this very, very sexy confluence of gender that I can't think of anyone who has straddled that line or just embodied it so naturally since.
Well, and also it's hard to imagine looking at some of those costumes where they're like, they are like basically a bathing suit, like a women's bathing suit cut with like some kind of like, you know, kooky decals and like a puffy shoulder.
Yeah.
And who could wear that? You know, Ariel Pink might try. But like what man that could sell at like a small stadium, current pop star today, do you think could pull off more or less a leotard?
Prince. Kevin Barnes.
Okay. Fair enough.
That was a rhetorical question. So